Tonight's live interview in Beijing didn't feel like entertainment. It felt like a door quietly opening. And for once, the room wasn't filled with noise, rumors, or performances. Yulong sat down, looked straight into the camera, and did something most public figures avoid at all costs. He spoke about marriage in a way that sounded less like a statement and more like a responsibility. And what makes this moment even more striking? Young Mayay wasn't there, and that absence didn't feel like avoidance. Felt intentional, almost protective. So what was Yulong really trying to say between the lines? And why are so many viewers saying this was the most human live they've seen in a long time? Stay with me, because the real headline isn't what he revealed. It's what he finally chose to stop carrying alone. What made this live interview feel different wasn't a single sentence. It was the silence around the sentence. The studio wasn't designed to impress. It was designed to remove distractions. No soundtrack to tell you what to feel. No dramatic lighting to turn honesty into theater. Just a table, 2 chairs, and a camera that refused to chase emotion for entertainment. That kind of simplicity creates a rare psychological effect. It asks the audience to do the work. In most celebrity coverage, the viewer is led by editing, by pace, by spectacle. Here, the viewer is invited to sit with discomfort, to notice small gestures, to interpret pauses. Yulong arriving early and settling in without fuss reads like quiet discipline, but it also signals something else: intention. He did not come to perform. He came to speak with control. And in an age where every public moment can be clipped, reframed, and weaponized, control is not coldness. It is self-protection. It is care. The calmness becomes a form of respect, towards the audience, but also towards the person who is not in the room. That is why the quiet room matters. It is the opposite of a scandal factory. It's a space where restraint becomes the headline, and where the most powerful part of the story is not what is revealed, but what is finally allowed to be acknowledged without chaos. The boldest move Yulong made was not confession. It was boundary setting. In celebrity culture, people often confuse access with entitlement. If someone's life is public, then every person attached to them becomes fair game. This interview quietly challenged that assumption. Young Mayay's absence was not framed as drama. There was no theatrical empty chair, no invitation for speculation, no carefully planted symbol designed to stir the internet. Instead, Yulong positioned the moment as his responsibility. He did not ask her to appear, defend, smile, or soften the narrative. He insisted, calmly, that she never owed anyone an explanation in the first place. That choice has real weight. It suggests a relationship dynamic built on protection without control. He was not speaking for her as if she had no voice. He was refusing to expose her to a conversation she never asked to join. In other words, he separated love from spectacle. There is also a deeper cultural contrast here. Many public figures attempt to solve rumors by offering more details, believing clarity will end curiosity. But curiosity rarely ends. It simply changes shape. Yulong's approach implies a more mature understanding. You do not defeat noise by feeding it. You defeat it by refusing to turn private dignity into public currency. For viewers, that restraint feels rare. It signals that the marriage is not a storyline. It is a real life, and real life deserves limits. One of the most affecting ideas in the interview is also one of the least discussed: the difference between attacking a public figure and attacking the person beside them. When Yulong is criticized, the target is often a constructed version of him, an image built from roles, headlines, and assumptions. He can absorb some of that impact through distance, through experience, through the emotional armor fame forces you to develop. But young Mayay does not have that armor. When criticism lands on her, it is not reviewing a public persona. It is judging a human being who did not audition for public scrutiny. And that changes everything. The harm becomes more intimate, more personal, and often more unfair, because it is easier for strangers to project motives onto someone they know less about. This is where the story becomes universally relatable. You do not need to be famous to recognize the pattern. Many people live in relationships where one partner is publicly visible, at work, in family politics, in social circles, and the other partner becomes a target simply by association. The pressure is not shared equally. It is transferred. Yulong's statement carries an uncomfortable truth. Fame is not just exposure. It is redistribution of pain. The public figure can sometimes escape into work, into schedules, into controlled environments. The person beside them remains at home with the residue, comments, whispers, side glances, and the quiet humiliation of being evaluated by strangers. That is why viewers feel the hidden weight. It turns gossip into something more serious. A reminder that behind every public narrative, there are private nervous systems absorbing the shock. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness. In reality, silence can be strategy, self-control, and survival. Yulong described how he and young Mayay learned early that reacting publicly could intensify rumors rather than resolve them. So they stayed quiet. But what made the interview emotionally heavy was his admission that silence is not free. Someone always pays for it. He spoke about nights when she carried the emotional load alone so that he could rest, moments when he didn't fully understand how heavy that burden was until later. This is a deeply human confession, because it reveals how love can contain blind spots. Not cruelty, just the ordinary limitation of one person failing to see the full weight another person is lifting. And then there is the idea of waiting. Not waiting as in doing nothing, but waiting as a form of strength. Waiting is restraint in a world that rewards reaction. Waiting is choosing not to weaponize pain. Waiting is giving a partner time to return to themselves after public pressure has hollowed them out. What makes this powerful is its realism. Many relationships don't collapse because of one explosive argument. They erode through fatigue, misunderstanding, and the slow accumulation of unspoken pressure. Yulong's words give shape to that invisible process. They also offer a quieter kind of hope. That patience, when paired with respect, can keep two people steady even when the outside world is loud. The courage here is not dramatic. It is domestic. And that is exactly why it resonates. If Update X24H wants to cover this story with depth while still boosting retention, the most effective approach is to invite viewers into reflection rather than conflict. The topic is emotionally rich, but it can remain advertiser-safe and respectful if the interactivity is designed around values, not accusations. First, introduce a pause and reflect segment. After a key line about boundaries or pressure, ask viewers to pause and answer one question. What does respect look like in a relationship when the outside world won't stop watching? This simple prompt increases watch time and creates thoughtful comments without encouraging speculation. Second, create a weekly small joys thread for the community tab. Yulong mentioned routines that do not make headlines: breakfasts, late-night walks, private laughter. Invite viewers to share one small routine that helps them feel safe. This reframes the story into something universally positive and builds a loyal audience identity around warmth, not noise. Third, run a two-option poll. Silence protects or silence harms. Then produce a follow-up short video analyzing the poll results with empathy, acknowledging both sides. This drives return views and positions the channel as emotionally intelligent. Finally, add a respectful coverage standard at the end of videos. A brief promise to discuss public statements without turning private individuals into targets. Over time, this becomes brand equity. Audiences increasingly reward creators who feel principled, not predatory. These activities don't just raise engagement. They future-proof the channel by building a community that values maturity, an advantage that lasts longer than any temporary trend.